It's David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be doing a setting breakdown. We'll be talking about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, explaining it to some of those who may be unfamiliar with the setting. To try to keep the video short, keep the bare essentials in place, take all the fat off those bones. What is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay? What is the setting like? There's three main elements that I'm going to talk about. Number one, the renaissance of the Holy Roman Empire, which is not holy, not Roman, and not an empire, but it has inspired Warhammer Fantasy and their empire, which is called the Empire. So we've got all of these city-states, these small counties and baronies, and together they elect an emperor who theoretically rules them all, but in practice he has very little power. It's really fragmented, it's very broken up. If there's an outside threat, they will close ranks together, but they squabble against each other. The emperor can't control his vassals very well, so we have this political structure. It's not very stable, but we do have Renaissance technology, early Renaissance. We have arquebuses. We have a standing army. So that means plate armor is beginning to fall into decline. Knights are beginning to fall into decline. Guilds are rising up. It's a very interesting period in history because we still do have knights, but we have a standing army. We still do have cavalry charges that can be very important, but we also have masses of pikemen and arquebusiers. Castles are important, but we have cannons, so they're less important as the cannons are coming up. And we have this middle class, the burghers, merchants and artisans who are starting to rise up. We have these geniuses, like Leonardo, like Michelangelo, like Raphael, like all the Ninja Turtles, like Brunelleschi. If I'm saying that right, I'm sure I'm not. Is it Brunelleschi? Brunelleschi? I think it's Brunelleschi. And he is my main man. I just watched a documentary about his life. I know a lot about his life. His name, I'm not so keen on. But we're having these geniuses, these inventors, these people coming up, inventing new arquebuses, new cannons, new ways of waging war, poison gas, better armor, more articulated armor. So we've got this wonderful Renaissance era in this fragmented feudal state. So that's very interesting right there. And then we're going to add into that some Call of Cthulhu, some horror, some eldritch abominations. We have demons coming from this other realm, the Immaterium. They are all of our bad feelings coagulated together and trying to make themselves more powerful by feeding us back our own evil energies to make us do more evil. And in Warhammer, this is called chaos. So we have all this mutations, seductions, the deal with the devil. We have all of that. And it's the principle of these four main chaos gods, which are Tzeentch, Nurgle, Khorne, and Slaanesh. Slaanesh is the hermaphroditic god or goddess of lust and perversion and indulgence. Khorne is a god of wrath, slaughter and rage, hatred. Nurgle is the god of sickness, decay, and sloth. And he's got these horrible diseases he spawns across the land. So we can have the Black Death. And it actually is because of Nurgle. Just as in real life, witches were burned because of the plague. And they said it was because of the sin of the world. God is punishing us with this plague. Well, in Warhammer, this chaos god can be punishing you with the plague, but he wants you to embrace the plague. And then the last of those four is Tzeentch, the god of magic and change. He's the god of revolution and new ideas, new thinking, liberalism, made evil. Although I know some of you believe it's already evil. So those are your four chaos gods. There are some other minor ones floating around, but those are the main ones, and they supply most of the horror, the eldritch abominations, the dripping tentacles, the gnashing teeth, the nipper-like claws. You know, their demons are most horrific to look upon. So a lot of Cthulhu, and there's of course a sanity mechanic in the game, because you're not maintaining good mental health when you're dealing with these things. So we've got the Call of Cthulhu, we've got the Renaissance Germany, and the third element is J.R.R. Tolkien. It's the Lord of the Rings, because we have dwarfs and elves and hobbitses and orcs wandering around in all of this. And that's the third part of Warhammer Fantasy. The dwarves and elves and hobbits and orcs, they've all been left behind somewhat. Humanity is developing these arquebuses, these cannons. They're starting to develop some like cogs moving towards galleons. We get the middle class, you know, the fine sculpture, whereas the dwarves and elves and orcs, they're all stuck, you know, way back in the Iron Age. They have no arquebuses, no cannons. They haven't developed a lot of the defenses against those, the style of like a Star Fort or anything like that. Their ships, if they have any ships, are not as highly developed. They just have galleys. So their tech level is way down. But they do have magic. The elves especially have very, very high levels of magic. And the magic system in the game is very interesting, because you've got basically three sources of magic. You've got the gods on high, and there are about 8 goodly gods. 9 if you count Renaud. I don't know if you want to count Renaud, though, because he's not that good. And they can give you weak but reliable magic. It's great. And then you have the colleges of magic, and they give you very powerful but very unreliable magic. This is all human magic. The elves have their own magic. The elves look at human magic and they're like, you humans do understand that all magic is the same, right? There really aren't 8 different schools and 8 different gods. It's all just magic. But the elves can never explain this to the humans. Humans just don't understand, because we know the gods and the demons are totally different. They're totally different. But the elves are like, no. The gods you worship and the demons, they're the exact same thing. Like, really, it's just Khorne is like hatred, and you know, Mor is a dreaming, slumbering, peaceful energy. But they're both just coagulations of your own sapient energy. They are the good and the evil within you, personified. But the humans are like, no, that's not true. That's blasphemy. The demons are evil, and I have no evil within me, for I was created by the gods. And the elves are like, okay, whatever, humans, whatever. So all magic really is one type of magic. And the elves know this. The humans refuse. They're too dogmatic to accept this. So they've classified it, and they've split it up into many divisions. And each division has its own lore and philosophy, and I've done videos on all of the magic schools. I'll probably do videos on all the gods, maybe on the chaos gods, although there's less actual lore that I've been able to find about them. But that's pretty much what you get. You get J.R.R. Tolkien in the Renaissance with eldritch horrors, and that is Warhammer Fantasy in a nutshell. So explore it, especially the 2nd edition rules, quite excellent. I've heard bad things about 3rd edition, but 2nd edition is very rockin'. I think I've done a review of that as well. But here's my generic overview of the setting. I might do more videos on the setting, but I want to keep them brief. So I'm going to sign off now. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Warhammer? How would you describe Warhammer? What did I miss? And what have you enjoyed in the setting, in your adventures and explorations? And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.